motion that we open the meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation on March 23rd, 2015.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to the March 23rd, 2015 meeting of the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Preservation. My name is Curtis Highsmith, and I am your chair. I'd like to introduce our panel. Unfortunately, we do not have Esther Pastor, nor do we have Ham Hogue this evening, but we do have Christina Redding, Brian Brady, our historic consultant, Zach Studenroth, our legal counsel, Bo Robinson, and as always, we welcome you, Antoinette. We're going to start this evening's meeting with signs, and first application sign, please.
First application is for Rite Aid, 82 Nugent Avenue.
Is the applicant present, please? Your name for the record, sir.
Aaron Pelagian, Jr.
Okay, you're replacing the current sign. The proposed sign is a brown sign with white lettering? It goes to
Well,
corporate
it ties into our later application for an exterior renovation. So these signs are actually on an exterior renovation. We're later on in the agenda on that.
Okay, the sign itself is brown background, white lettering?
Well, the brown, no, the sign itself is the lettering and the symbol. The background is part of the renovation and a new fascia on the building.
What is the background color?
Brown, yeah, tan.
This is the present
brown
sign,
background.
and this is the new sign, right?
Yes, right. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the ones on the building.
Why? May I ask why you're changing the color?
Just to make it a little more up to date, we're actually applying to do renovate the existing building, the whole exterior, paint the building, bring it up a little more, bring it into the earth tones, taking away the blue. So these actually tie into that.
So you've taken for granted that you're going to get the approval on the alterations of the
No,
exterior?
I'm not. No.
Putting cart before the horse?
No. Well, it's just the way the schedule falls on your meeting.
Not a problem. Is this your font?
Yes.
That is your background brown?
Yes.
You have a color rendering that shows, or is this the exact
Let's
replica
see what the
of
renovation.
the color that you're
Yes.
representing?
Yeah. Yes.
Brian, the sign would be on the building. There would be 2 driveway signs. It would be on the front and side facade. This is the font, brown background, white lettering, that font.
Right.
Further existing, but this is their identity
Yeah.
change.
Okay, is there a way to look at the building renovation first and then decide, or?
I would recommend that, but
Yep.
Yeah.
that
That's,
okay?
yeah, I mean, we're later on in the agenda tonight, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I would rather
So-
see it all tie in together and see what you're
Right,
planning to
right.
do and why the change. Okay.
okay. So what we'll do is we'll hold over the application. It's your discretion on whether you rather have it adjourned for this evening and wait till the next meeting, or held over until we see your application.
Yeah, I'd rather wait until we do it all at once.
Not a problem. We'll hold you out for second call.
Okay, thank you.
Next application, please.
Next application is for Saldana Carpentry for a contractor sign. Good.
Hi. Your name for the record?
Edgar Sultana.
Sorry?
Edgar Sultana. And Sultana Carpenter.
Got it right here. Your logo, carpentry, website, custom trimming and cabinets, and 2 telephone numbers.
Yes.
I think there's too much information.
We
there.
typically ask our applicants, especially on contractor sign, to tone it down. It looks too billboardish.
Okay.
Normally, typically, name of company, telephone number, and/or a website or email address.
Okay.
You've given pretty much everything that you've provided, as well as a logo. your services and 2 forms of telephone number.
Okay, read off where.
You drop which one?
So we're going to just leave the telephone numbers
Telephone number?
and I can leave the website and that.
What we would recommend that you take the custom trim and cabinetry out,
Okay.
a little billboardish.
Sure.
One of the telephone numbers,
Yeah, I mean I can leave both or just gotta be one.
one of the telephone numbers.
1 of the telephone numbers. 631-463-1935.
I'm sorry,
463-1935.
463
That's what I say.
1935,
Yep.
and you'll keep your website. Is that correct,
Yep.
Ryan?
I'm fine with it with the changes.
Yeah, I'm
Christine?
fine with the change.
Any public comment on the application? Okay, the motion would be for contractor sign with the name of the company, website, and the telephone number, 631-463-1935. You owe the village some promotions on the advertisement here. Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the sign for Saldana Carpentry with the corrections that have been made on the sign itself.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good luck. Next application, please.
Next application is for Barcelon Building and Design. Okay.
Steven Salamone.
Okay, I'll name your company, building, design, telephone number, and website, correct?
Yes.
White pillars, white posts, instead of blue or green lettering.
Gray, dark gray.
You have a color sample of the gray?
No, I don't. It's almost black.
I'm sorry?
It's almost black.
Is it black or gray?
Dark black, dark gray.
I don't have any issues with it.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the sign for Barcelon Building and Design.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you, have a good night.
Next application, please.
Next application is for Hire Society Staffing LLC, storefront sign.
Hi, Forrest D. Barnett.
This is a decal above the door?
Correct.
Any other lettering, any other posting anywhere on the premises?
No, just the Higher Society on a glass.
On the glass, so it's a decal that goes on top of the door,
Correct.
correct? What is the color of the lettering?
White.
White. Yeah. Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the sign for Higher Society Staffing LLC.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next application.
Next application is for Sisal Rugs for a storefront sign.
Hello,
Your name for the record,
Gary.
please.
William Mataska.
Just the storefront sign above the entryway?
Yes. It's kind of between the entryway and the window.
Okay. You're advertising that it's area rugs, stair running wall to wall, correct?
Yes.
I don't know if you heard earlier about the billboardish style of posting. We prefer it to be a little step down, a little more simple, less detail, less is more.
Okay.
I'll see if the board has any concerns with that.
Yeah, I do. I'd rather see it not have that.
Yeah.
Christine?
Just
Wholesale's
size the rugs.
enough.
Would you object to having the bottom half removed?
I wouldn't object. Is there any possible way that I could have a small graphic going across the bottom of the window?
It's more
A small
like a
graphic?
hanging.
A small graphic across the bottom of the window, maybe 4-inch lettering?
That on the window instead.
Yeah,
May I have that on the window instead?
In the window as a decal.
Yes.
I don't,
I'm
that
fine with
okay?
that.
fine with that.
Towards the bottom, I would say
Yep.
maybe 6 inches up off the bottom
You
glass.
do realize that's not being approved this evening. So if you were to
Oh.
present that, that would have to come back before the board.
Okay, as long as I can put the sign up, I would be happy.
Put the sign up,
Okay.
So you'll get that one, and then you have to come back with the window sign.
Yes.
okay? Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve with the modifications.
I make a motion that we approve the sign application for Sizel Rubs with the modifications that are marked on the plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last sign application this evening.
The last application is for Theory, 94 Main Street, for awnings.
Lori Hartwig, 5 Star Awnings.
There's no writing, no lettering, no
Nothing.
decal, no corporate
Nothing.
logo.
Nothing.
This is just a sample of the awning itself, correct?
Yes, the fabric.
Are they retractable or just?
Retractable, yes.
Yeah, okay. Brian, any questions?
No, I think it's very challenging, yeah.
No, great.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the sign application, oh, it's not a sign, it's
Awning.
awnings for Theory.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. That concludes our sign applications for this evening. Well, except for the recall. First application, historic.
First application historic is JV 20 Gin Lane LLC.
There were no balloons up, so I think they're probably not there.
Yours says adjourned, mine doesn't. Did you say adjourned?
Okay.
Does yours have it?
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the applicant's request to adjourn JV 20 Gin Lane LLC. Is it to our next meeting?
Till our next meeting.
Till our next meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Next application, please.
Chairman, may I ask a question? Because I was coming to speak about that, so I just wanted to ask a question.
The
Bill
applications,
Manger-
understand the application is closed?
Understood.
So any information you get at this point would not be part of record.
That's fine. I was just curious, though, again, if the balloon test had been done prior
That may be
to
the
this-
reason why it was adjourned.
Okay. That's
We have
all
not
I-
seen, we were not part of that.
All I wanted to know. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next application, please.
Next application is for Harold Grant, 75 Herrick Road.
I'm assuming you have small plans for us?
Of course I do.
Your name for the record.
Lisa Zaloga, architect for Harold Grant. Do you wanna give him? Would you like? Yeah, David.
Plans we have here in duplicate of the
Correct,
size as well as features, material, dimensions.
yes.
Continue.
So this is an existing residence on, oh, it says Osborne Avenue, but it's not. Interesting. On Herrick Road, and there's an existing covered porch on the west side of the house. And we would like to enclose it with windows above panels, all painted white as the house is.
Is there a photo of the house?
If not, I have, it should be in there.
Zach, before we begin, historic, contributing?
I don't believe so. It's in the district, but it's a colonial revival house of maybe 30s, 1930s, 40s vintage. I don't believe it's a contributing resource.
The glass, I'm sorry, the panels are all white panel.
Yes, yes.
Is there a detail of the panel, or is it just a,
It would just be a recessed panel
Recessed.
with a frame around it.
yeah, seriously, I'm missing ham here.
Uh-oh.
Jeez, I said that on camera. I actually said that on camera.
No.
You all- Brian, any comments?
No, I have no comments. Well, it's fine.
Sistine?
No, I have no comments. I think it's appropriate.
Any public comment on the application? Property is located in the historic district, no objection of this board, so at this time, we'll close the application for written decision. Any questions?
No, sir.
I'd like to just get some clarification on whether this is or it's not in a contributing asset.
That's what he.
Yeah, he said he didn't believe. Is that
As
a,
far as I know, it's within the historic district, but it is not a contributing
Lisa, did your research pull up
resource.
anything?
I did not find anything that said it was a contributing.
Yeah, I checked it today and I didn't see it. So I'd consider it non.
All right.
Being contributing, just for informational purposes, would that change the amount of work that's being done and in a way that will impede on the style of the?
No, not at all. I mean,
Okay, so it's irrelevant.
improvements are consistent with the architecture of the house, so it doesn't change that in any way.
Very good. Any other questions?
No.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to close the application for written decision.
I make a motion that we close the application for Howard Grant at 75 Herrick Road for written decision by our council.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please.
Next application is for Stephen Sherrill, 217 Pond Lane for driveway gates.
Mark Hirsch for Stephen Sherrill.
Okay. Gates are iron?
No, AZAC, white.
Is it white? Really?
Yeah.
Spacing between the steel poles? The vertical?
The pickets are between the pillars.
Yes.
Between the pickets.
Pickets is 5 3/16 on top.
I don't have an issue with the transparency of design.
It's 50% transparency.
Very good. Brian, any comments?
No, I think it's nice.
Christine?
No.
Any public comment on the application? Pond Lane is a historic community, very sensitive community. I believe the gates are out of keeping in terms of the overall design or the aesthetics, correct?
I'm sorry, did you say out of character?
Not
No.
out of character.
Not Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. The application is located in the historic district and therefore requires written decision by council. We're going to close the application for this evening for that decision. Any questions? Motion to close the application for written decision.
I make a motion that we close the application of Stephen Sherrill at 217 Pond Lane for the driveway gates for written decision by our council.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application.
Next application is Stephen Sherrill at 200 South Main Street for driveway gates. The same
Mark Hirsch
gates?
for Stephen Sherrill.
Yeah,
Same gate.
Different gates.
okay.
Still 50% transparency.
Is the bottom half open or is that all closed in lattice?
That's panel
It's
on
all
the
panel.
bottom.
So the transparency is the upper,
The complete project is 50%, over 51%.
Fine with that? What's the height?
Okay.
Seven what?
This was the certificate of appropriateness for the
Okay.
original. Brian, any comments?
No, I think it's very handsome.
Christine?
Yep. Okay.
Any public comment on the application? Same rule applies. Written decision by council at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Motion to close the application for written decision.
I make a motion that we close the application of Stephen Sherrill at 200 South Main Street for the driveway gates for written decision by our council.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It concludes our historic district. First application, non-historic.
First application is Barbara Wilson, 165 Elm Street.
Did
She
she
was
request
adjourned till
I'm
April.
looking it up right now, but I think it was adjourned until April.
until
She
April?
was
I believe so.
adjourned till April.
Application has already been adjourned.
Okay.
Next application,
Next application, which is closed for
Council.
written decision, David Steinberg, 32
With
North
regard to
Road.
this application and reviewing the file for the decision, it came to my attention that there may be a there's a clarification needed on the affidavit of posting. Both affidavit of posting and mailing were dated November 24. The meeting was on December 8. So that November 24 posting could not refer to posting at that time being in place up until December 8. So when did you actually put the placard on the property?
I put the application in.
No, the placard on the property. Put the poster
It's not on the
on the
posting?
property.
It's not on the affidavit?
No. It has to be posted for 10 days.
Yes, definitely.
And that document
because-
was dated November 24th.
Because we applied a month ahead of time, they couldn't put us on the schedule, so we actually on probably 2 months before. I can look it up on my email. The contractor who sent me an email. I can look it up now. If you want to go to the next meeting, I'll
Yes,
sort
yeah,
it out.
that's good, because we need clarification. Thank you.
Anything else after than this?
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm gonna go out.
Okay. Next application, please.
Next application is 42 Old Town Crossing, LLC.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Jeffrey Gibbons, architect, agent for the applicant. And this is the lawyer.
Monica Navia, Burke and Sullivan, 41 Meeting House Lane, Southampton, New York, 11968.
We have come in with the study model that was requested last week. And I'm sorry, this is the owner.
Louis Polo.
Just a second till we get the model, but in the meantime, I have small sets for you. And I rearranged the pages so that the elevations are first. Okay, we did change the roof pitch to make it slightly higher so that the dormers were not at the pitch, at the very ridge. They were down, as was requested. We have various views of the house, but this is the latest view, front and back.
See, the pitch was raised, so the dormers came
Right,
off.
the front dormer's still at the ridge. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct,
Yeah.
These represent not the width, obviously, but the height of bushes that are existing, which are between 24 and 26 feet tall on either side of the house. And there was a comment made by someone, anyway, about being able to see from the third floor. So I just wanted to point out that you wouldn't be able to see anything from the third floor.
You're saying your line of sight. And based on your line of sight, you would not be able to see. And the bushes that you're proposing there,
No, these are there.
These are
they're
existing.
there, they exist. And you wouldn't add any additional buffering or any other
Oh.
screening?
We'll fill in where sometimes it's a little bare, and we fill in to keep the same height throughout the whole.
You have to go to the microphone. We have a landscape plan, so we are going to put landscape all over this property. The bushes, the trees that are there are evergreen, and at this point, we don't know whose is whose, but we're not gonna take them down because they form a
Yeah, we're gonna keep
a
these.
great screen. There is a couple of places where, in the back here, where there were no trees, and they will be filled in with the same height tree, between 24 and 26.
Are they
feet.
privet or?
No, they're evergreen. I'm not sure if they're Leland cypress or one of the arborvitae varieties.
So they're,
They're pretty full where they're together.
so in the winter, they provide more
Yes.
screen, right?
Brian,
As
did
you
you
can see
satisfy
from the
the
beginning-
pitch of the roof for you?
Yes, I'm satisfied with the changes to the house itself. I think they did everything we were asking them to do.
There was still an overall question about mass.
Right.
You have any concerns with regards to the actual envelope of the house as it reads, and actually how it relates to neighboring houses, where it could be possibly greater than, in terms of volume, greater than, I won't say allowable, but just not in keeping with the overall community or impact of the community.
Right. I think it's pushing the envelope on that, but I also think that because there's a house going up next door, that
Which is a
the
replica.
same mass as this, there's some other larger homes on the street, even though most of the street is a smaller mass. I think the architecture helps ground the house to the street, so I'm fine with it.
Christine?
I appreciate the changes you've made to the roof line, but I still have grave concerns about the massing of this house, and driving down that street a couple of times last week, I'm having difficulty seeing how this fits in harmony with what's there. So I'm still struggling with that.
If I could, I checked the surveys of some of the homes on the street, and actually 2 houses over to the east, that existing home is 10 feet wider than what we're proposing. And some of the other homes are wider than what
Is that part of any streetscape you proposed to us?
Yeah, that's on 66. They have big hedging in the front, so it's really hard to see, kind of just as we would, but it's a pretty large house.
You presented that streetscape?
Yeah, there's a whole book of it.
Binder.
What's the parcel address?
66, well, you see the hedging, you really can't see the house.
It doesn't help your case any.
Yeah.
There's an overall, though. You can get a sense of it.
Oh, yeah. It's actually this house here.
All right.
And so
While we're
the
looking
others-
for this, I'm sure there's some public comment. Do you have anything else to add on your application?
Just like I said, that some of the homes are just as wide or wider than this one. but-
Are you saying that the neighborhood is changing its overall volume to a larger style home?
I don't know what the rest of the homes are doing. I'm just saying what's existing now, because there were comments made that the homes on the block are very narrow. And like I said, when I checked the surveys, it didn't really prove that out.
And ladies and gentlemen, we did take what your recommendations and concerns were for the last 2 meetings, and our designs are in conformance with the existing zoning ordinances and codes.
Which you wouldn't be here if you didn't.
Correct.
All right. Is there any public comment while we were reviewing this? If you can just make way for additional comment.
If I may, please the board, all due respect to these drawings. and things.
Your name for the record,
Tom
please.
Burke. I appeared last.
Yes, sir.
Time. I believe there's a preliminary issue to be addressed, a threshold question. The board's consultant issued a report, which is in the file, recommending that this property be considered for what would we call it, landmark designation. So before we can go on with any determination on this issue, I think that has to be addressed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And if I may, I'd like to respond to that.
Any additional comments? Please step forward.
Diane Deutscher, 200 Lewis Street, Southampton. I'd like to ask the architect, the
You have to
height
direct your
of this...
que- you have to direct your
ask you,
questions,
all right.
yeah.
The height of this house, is it 34 feet?
This house is 33 foot 11.
All right.
I'm an architect, what do you want?
This house is going to have a significant impact on the streetscape. Of the 21 houses that face Old Town Crossing, 2 are 1-story, 4 are 1.5 stories, 11 are 2 stories, and just 4 are 2.5 stories. Many have pools, and some also have pool houses, but none have 2.5 stories, a detached garage, a pool house, and 5,000 square feet of living space on 1/3 of an acre. The original plans for this house showed a 7-bedroom house. Now, without changing the square footage, it's being recorded as a 5-bedroom house.
The interior bedrooms are irrelevant to this board. We're looking at aesthetics, volume, how the house looks on the street.
All right. I urge the board to visit the street, see the house sizes, and the parking configurations. I guess you're not into parking either. But clearly, this house has got to come down. It is going to be towering over the other houses, and its mass is too much, as far as I think, anyway.
Thank you, ma'am. Any more comments? You might as well grab everything at one time. Any more public comment? Zach, that was a very good, I guess we do have to discuss the report and the findings that you.
Sure.
So let our historic consultant finish with his report and his findings, and then we'll come back to public comment.
Well, it was brought to our attention at the last meeting that in fact this house does meet the criterion in terms of its apparent date of construction, that being prior to 1927, which was not represented in the application at the last time, but it was brought to our attention by Mr. Berg. And so,
Just for the public knowledge, basically what is that process and that transaction from beginning to?
This is a code change that was put in place, I guess now it's been 4 or 5 years ago, in which structures that appear to predate 1927, whether they've been considered to be contributing either within the historic district or anywhere in the village, require a site visit and an assessment to see whether they possess any architectural features that might warrant the board's consideration for landmarking. I believe what instigated that code change is that the survey itself was done in 1979. So that's 35 years ago. And of course, many houses dating from the late teens or 20s when that survey was done weren't considered to have achieved sufficient historical interest to be recorded. And so with the passage of time, this is a mechanism by which the village is looking to address the possibility that there are houses that fall into that age period that now warrant some consideration. And that's kind of the underlying purpose of it. And so I undertook I'll probably just read this paragraph. Is that okay? Sure. Okay. This is the general description. Subject dwelling is a 2-story, 4-square type structure dating from the early to mid-1920s, which preserves the architectural detailing associated with the form. Characteristic features include the box-like pyramidal massing, clustered 6/1 fenestration that includes a 3-window bay on the first floor, pair of double windows in the second, and a 3-window dormer on the attic level, a front porch with hip roof supported on Doric columns, and a wide roof overhang. The original brick chimney aligns with the central peak of the roof. Building is supported on poured concrete foundation. An addition of 2 stories, which echoes the detailing of the main house, extends toward the backyard. Integrity. Architectural integrity appears to be very high. Elements characteristic of a 4-square style appear to be in excellent repair. And it was my conclusion that the house does indeed meet one of the 5 criteria for consideration as a landmark, that being that it embodies the distinguishing characteristics of an architectural style. What this simply means is that it should be considered for landmark review.
So in other words, if one of the criteria is met, then it immediately triggers this board's interest.
It opens the door
to
on that
consider
interest.
designation.
Exactly.
If you can go through the process of designation, what that would entail.
I think prior to the project moving forward, that should be addressed and resolved, and then you can move forward with the
Okay.
plans.
You heard the discussion of our historic consultant. I'm sure there's rebuttal by the applicant. His findings are that out of the five criteria, one is met, which triggers at least the interest, not necessarily that we will or we will not, but it at least opens up dialogue for us to discuss whether this should be a part of public discussion for designation. And what that involves is we have to open up dialogue, allow the community to come up with testimony as to why they feel it should or should not. We also carry out our own investigation internally as a board to identify whether we consider this to be an example of a parcel, of a house that we wish to save and designate as a contributing structure outside of the historic district. Taking note that this is also part of a future undergoing that this board is going to present before the Village of Southampton, which is a possibility of extending the historic district. I would venture to say that this particular neighborhood would be one of which is of interest to expound. And this being if it were in the historic district, it would be a contributing structure within the historic district. However, those are not the standards by which we're looking at this application now. We're looking at it outside of the historic district as a contributing structure. So it actually rises to a higher standard outside of the historic district as a contributing structure. So with that said, I'm sure there's a rebuttal of the applicant. Please step forward.
Good evening. Monica Navia Burke Sullivan. I wanted to know, first off, if Mr. Studenroth could elaborate more on how he reached the number 3 factor, embodying the distinguishing characteristic of an architectural style, just so that we have more knowledge and also for the record.
Okay. Well, in the general description, obviously this is a very brief assessment, but I attempted to capture 3 or 4 distinguishing characteristics of the Foursquare style, and that is what this criterion is. Obviously, in my estimation, it didn't meet any of the other 4, but the code provides for a mechanism by which if a building appears to meet only one of the 5,
Right. It's not an
deserves consideration.
and, it's an or.
Right.
It can meet one out of the 5. Got it.
And part of it, it's not only architectural features, but it's also integrity. I mean, a structure can be. We've had applications in which a building is clearly antiquated, possesses interesting features, but they've been altered over the years, or they've been degraded. They've succumbed to time and wear and tear. In my estimation, this house, again, we're not doing an interior forensic engineering study. There may be other issues pertaining that we're not privy to, but from an exterior view, it seems that the house is in exceptionally good condition. Much to the credit of the owners over the years, it's been kept in very nice repair. The addition off the back, although that can't be considered contributing to its historic value, was done in such a way that it did not detract from it. It was done consistent with the architecture of the original building. And so the features that are mentioned here in this brief report are those which characterize the architectural style, and it embodies those distinguishing characteristics. So by definition, it meets that criterion.
And exactly what is that architectural style? Because I guess it could be argued that every house has some sort of
Well, one of the
architectural
basic
style.
ideas with a Foursquare
Mhm.
is it's square.
Right.
Okay.
Got it.
There you go. It's like a big box. It's a cube. Typically, they have pyramidal roofs. That is to say, they're not gable or gambrel roofed. They're essentially hipped. It's not truly a hip roof, but it's a pyramidal roof. That's one of the features. That's probably the most defining feature of a four-square. There are many interior features, but we're not getting into that. The very deep roof overhang is characteristic, which is devoid of any brackets or denticulation of any kind. It's just quite plain, very severe. The fenestration is typical. The porch supported on the Doric columns is typical of the period. And the fact that the chimney is centered up there at the peak, those are the main characteristics.
Okay. So out of the 5, you chose only one of them?
It's only the one.
Okay. At this time, my client, I'm requesting an adjournment to further review the evaluation, discuss it with my client, and come back in 2 weeks to respond.
Thank you. Any additional comment before we approve the applicant's request? Step forward, please.
Diane Deutschman again. This is just a complaint. You know, a group of neighbors went down to the building department on Friday to see what was going on, and we wanted to see all these things. And they said, well, they're going to be brought in on Monday. Now, I don't think that's very fair to the public who goes...
You're not complaining about us.
No, no.
Okay. All right.
No.
All right.
No. I'm just saying that I don't think it's very fair to the public to go in on a Friday before your meeting and be told, oh, they're going to bring them in on Monday. That's not...
Can I address that, please? A lot of the members here on this board have obviously jobs. This is a voluntary board.
I know, I served there.
Yeah. So it's very difficult for most of us to get to Village Hall to look over the files. So it leaves us a weekend to look over the files while they're here. So, for example, myself, I take advantage of the opportunity to come here on a Saturday afternoon, void of interference from the outside, to come here and look at each application and file in detail. So,
But the public doesn't have that opportunity.
well, you have 9 days out of 10 to be here. To
No, we went in on Friday.
Well, Friday before the meeting.
This last Friday, we went in,
So
and they
from
said
the
they were
last-
coming in today.
So you're saying that this information wasn't in the file?
No, it wasn't.
Until today? Okay. Well, that's a very good and very valid point. Thank you. Step forward.
Jeffrey Gibbons again for the client. This booklet, which has everything that is on these boards in small form, has been in since we filed for this project. And the plans I brought in on Friday and was told that a group had come by with pitchforks and torches and I better change everything.
I hope not.
And I said, but they have this.
I shouldn't have said I was here on Saturday then, huh?
No, I'm just saying, you know, you guys request changes, and we do the best we can. And as far as these big boards and the models,
You can direct it to us. You can direct
the
it.
building department does not want us to leave them there. They told us we don't want them. So the board told us that, and also the building department. We don't want your boards. We don't want your models. So if you have a problem with that part of,
Let me answer that as
then
well.
somebody should talk to the building department.
Okay, thank you, sir. The material, which is the flat boards that they're presenting before you, is also represented in the actual file. So you should have the ability to review this, which is the same thing that's on the board. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Susan Stevenson, Toilsome Lane. In many occasions, and especially on this particular house, the information comes in and the public cannot see it before the meeting. And that really is a disservice to the public, to the neighbors, and to the applicant, because it causes trouble. I personally was accused of having the wrong information. I based an email I sent to the mayor and to Michael Irving, the building department trustee, based on plans that were then changed in the file before the last meeting. I have no way of knowing that or seeing those were put in right before the meeting.
I think it's inappropriate for everyone. I think for you too, that you don't have enough time. Is it such a horse race that that this stuff cannot be available to the public for 4 or 5 days before the meetings? Because it's not, and it's not fair. And I
Understood.
really, honestly, people in this community are interested in preserving parts of the community. Neighbors are interested in what their neighborhood is going to look like and how they can help preserve it. And to prevent them from seeing these plans, some of which are incomplete still, is really not fair. It's not fair to you either. You're making decisions, but you've only seen the plans for 30 minutes.
I don't think any of this board hasn't said it made a decision.
I know, but it continues, it just seems like there could be in a court of law, the stuff is either in the file or not, and it doesn't happen that
Whenever
way.
it's determined that the information is not in the file in the appropriate time, and a community member or someone speaks to say they had not had the opportunity
Okay,
to
I'm
review
saying
it,
that.
we've pretty much been very, very lenient towards the
Well-
neighbors to see the application in full. And
This
we've adjourned the
application-
application several times in
I'm not
past.
blaming the applicant, I'm just saying there should be a deadline so that the building department, the members of the ARB, and the public have access to the information. Please.
Thank you.
Just one further comment. The applicant's request for additional time to evaluate the evaluation seems to me is what we would be doing if this board were to say we want to pursue the consultant's recommendation. That's the time to discuss whether or not this property deserves landmark designation. After a notice of hearing and a full hearing on that question, to pick it apart here and now, preliminarily, I don't think is proper.
Well, the applicant put a request in for adjournment.
I hear you, I know.
This board has not made a determination. We heard from our historic consultant that it's a property of interest.
Right.
Procedurally, and I'll allow my counsel to continue to correct me if I'm wrong, but if this application is deemed and the applicant comes back before us with further information or testimony which will either rebut or refute the information of Mr. Studenroth, well, you're absolutely correct. It adds to the overall testimony of whether it should or should not be deemed.
Okay, I understand. I think
And it
it's-
could be added to that public comment for designation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counsel, did I say anything inappropriate?
No, you didn't.
Very good. Got it right. Anything further? Anything from council?
At least. Again, I want to be short to the point, not waste this board's time, and while I appreciate the neighbors have every right to voice their opinions, this should not be used as a forum to air their issues in general, and that should be more, with all due respect, something the Board of Trustees would handle in terms of what kind of material, when it's available. In this case, for 42 Old Town Crossing, we have put everything into the file. It's been made available. As we said earlier, everything in the boards has been included in this, along with the plans. We've also invited people into the firm. Mr. Burke came in, saw all our plans. So we've been very transparent, open, willing to discuss, very willing to listen to the neighbors' opinions. But this should not be used as a forum for people to air problems that they have in general with
Can we get a
anything
sign
in
to put that
town.
right above?
So that's all I just wanted to point
We are
out.
sensitive to the neighbors' concerns, most certainly.
Absolutely.
There's nothing that, this is not the forum for that,
Mhm.
but in general, I'm sure everyone has and shares a form of frustration about certain procedural things that should have changed a long time ago.
I just don't want it to
But
impinge
that
on
has
my
nothing
client.
to do with our.
With this
making a dec-
specific, right.
Exactly, making a
That's just
determination.
important, that we keep it to the issues at hand and not discuss anything that's not relevant.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing further, anything further from the board? The applicant's requested to adjourn, so motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a mo-
Until next meeting?
Yes.
I make a motion that we, at the applicant's request, adjourn 42 Old Town Crossing LLC to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, then we have 48 Old Crossing. You want to do that independently as an applicant,
Curtis,
application?
could you call Steinberg back again?
November 21st. So it's the posting date.
Right.
No, November 21st.
Right, then you couldn't have signed an affidavit on the 24th that it had been in place for 10 days. The posting has to be in place for 10 days. Those 10 days would not have expired until the 1st of December.
It was posted 21st. The meeting is December 8th, right?
Correct, but the affidavit says that it's been posted for 10 days, and that could not have been a correct statement on the 24th of November. So what you need to
it would be
do.
longer than 10 days, right? I was told.
It would have been longer
Uh-huh.
than 10 days on the 8th of December.
Yeah, I was
But
told I
the
can leave it
document was
longer.
signed on the 24th of November, only 3 days later. And the document represents that the property had been posted for 10 days, which could not have been correct. So what you need to do is resubmit
The
an
affidavit.
affidavit dated as of tomorrow,
Okay,
and I will then accept that into the file. The board did have jurisdiction, and then we will accept the new affidavit,
okay,
what we call nunc pro tunc, present time for the past, grant you the jurisdiction and give you a decision at the next meeting.
oh, okay. What would the decision be then?
Pardon? Sorry?
Would you, what the decision be then? Can I start?
Come back the next meeting and I'll tell you.
Can I start the construction drawings and stuff?
The decision is for approval. So
Okay.
you can
Start with the
base
construction
base all your conduct on that, but we will not have a written decision for you.
You won't have it, but I should be able to get
You
started.
can be assured that it will be for approval of the latest set of documents that were submitted.
For the option 2, I can start to do the construction drawing so
Well,
they
you
can.
can't start a construction without the building
No,
permit.
no,
but-
I don't. We're gonna
Drawings.
start the construction drawing for
Yeah,
bidding.
yes, yes,
For bidding, it's
sure,
okay.
sure.
All right,
Mhm.
that's fine.
Oh, yeah. So again, if you'll get that affidavit into the building department and then have them call me when you do that, so I'll know that it's there.
Okay,
All
great,
right,
thank you.
thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn
Were we still open?
for written decision. Well, it's motion to re-adjourn. I mean, it's kind of
It's
adjourned
done then?
already. It's already been established as adjourned, so it doesn't have to be called over.
Re-adjournment's good.
Motion to re-adjourn.
Make a motion that we re-adjourn for written decision by counsel David Steinberg on Woolley Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 48 Old Town Crossing.
We also did some work on this house as well. I'm Jeff Gibbons again. I'm sure you haven't forgotten who I am. We pulled the dormer in another foot or so on the roof. Here's.
Can you take that off the microphone, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, this was the last version that we presented 2 weeks ago, and this is the latest version. Again, we've removed the ball finials from the railing. We pulled this dormer back in further. And, again, there are, yeah, the dormer's back. Well, that was from last time we cut it back from the front back to here. And we also pushed it in several more feet this way. So, and there is existing foliage on either side of evergreen nature that would solve that particular thing. There was a comment made, no, my details. There was a comment made that there was no detail on this house. I don't know who made it, but there is going to be plenty of detail, traditional.
Point to the camera, nothing.
Traditional detail on this house.
In terms of volume, in relation to, I'm looking at this independently, but in relation to the prior the application, which is 42, is there a difference in overall volume, or is it pretty much a
Pretty
match?
similar.
So in terms of size, volume, height, footprint,
Pretty similar.
similar.
There's no historic or possibly historic house on this property.
Yeah, we got it. Brian, you had issues with the little balls
I
on
was
top
the,
of.
the dormer and the finials, which they've cleaned up.
That's setting
The
back
detail, I think, was Zach's comment.
Okay. Setting back the dormer, relate in terms of overall volume, or at least the appearance of street volume. Do you think it settles it down? Do you feel that it?
Well, this has more street presence than the other one because the roof line is different. You know,
Okay.
there's a gable on the street and not a roof going back, so it is going to read as a much taller house than the other one.
Christine?
I have no other comment.
There's nothing historic to talk about. Is there any public comment, which I'm sure, unless there's anything further from, okay. Is there any public comment on this application?
Tom Burke, again, as an interested neighbor. I'm just going to repeat what I said last week. I believe that the mass of this house is just as onerous as the other one, and it's just as onerous as it was 2 weeks ago. The dormer, the shed dormer that I objected to before, if it's a little bit smaller, I don't think makes a bit of difference. It's just something that was thrown on there to accommodate another bedroom. It's still there, and it still has its ability to infringe upon the privacy of other properties because of the windows. And again, as I say, the mass is another concern, especially from the street, with the shape of the roof and the shape of the lines of the building. It appears larger. Thank you.
Please step forward. Any other comments?
Good evening, my name's Jay Deasing. If I had a 4-acre parcel in the village, what's the highest house I could build?
I think the height requirement's
35 feet?
35 feet.
So this is going to be on a third of an acre, 34 and a half feet?
Yes.
And then they're going to be able to add 2 feet of fill? Is that correct? So if you want to fill the property, or you can. So we're just going to be shortening this down just to 34.
This has no FEMA requirements. So don't.
Pardon?
You're referring, this has no FEMA requirements, if that's what you're referring to.
No, I know, but when you construct, I believe that, are we talking about 34.4 from the street level, or are we talking 34.4 from a grade that's been increased by 2 feet? I just want to get a sense, because I don't know if you've driven down Old Town Crossing, you will see the house next door, the immediate property next door, is probably in the 27 to 28 feet height range. And that is from the street level. So if this potentially has a 2-foot increase in the grade, and the basement pops out above that, or even if it doesn't, you're still looking at a 34 and a half high house. And that's very high for this neighborhood. Even our 2.5-story houses, in many cases, are only 25 to 30, 27 feet high.
So you have an issue with the village height requirement?
No, I have an issue with part of your charge is to make sure that houses are compatible with the neighborhood. And I have an issue with the fact that we have a neighborhood that has houses of a certain size and a certain mass. And I believe that this house with a garage, with a pool house, with a pool, and a 5,500 square foot living space structure is going to overwhelm the property. It's going to have cars parked on the street. And it's going to change the vista of our neighborhood. So one of the things that I first would ask, and I think we requested at both at the prior meeting, was to see a streetscape with this house alongside of the other houses.
Which they presented.
Pardon?
I believe they presented that streetscape as part of their overall.
Can I see that? Because it was not in the file.
The book that we gave you last time.
It's not in the book that you gave me. There's a streetscape that shows the street, but it does not show this house in it. That was not in the book that I received. And it doesn't show it in scale so that you can see.
Okay, guys, that's the reason why we don't like the back and forth dialogue.
I mean, I
So
think
what
we'd
you're
like to be
saying-
able to see how that, when you see a picture and a picture, I can't tell you whether it's smaller or bigger. And I don't think you can either.
So you're a licensed architect, correct, sir?
Yes.
Is that how you depicted the structure in that streetscape? Is that reflection of true scale from?
Yes.
You're saying yes, it does.
Well, it can't possibly be. This is a one-story house.
I'm asking the licensed architect of record whether he's putting at risk his license and his reputation, and I'm
show?
purposely putting that in there that
This is a
he's
one-story house.
sir, but that he's identifying that the
Okay.
scale of his project is within scale to the relating houses. Is that correct, sir? That you're nodding your head for the record, yes,
Yes.
or no? Okay.
And I have nothing more to say. Thank you.
Please step forward.
I just wanted to point out that it might be over 5,000 square feet if you include the basement, but above ground, it's only 3,200 square feet.
Thank you.
I just have to
Your
apologize.
name for the record.
Diane Deutschman.
Thank you.
I just have to apologize. When I addressed you and said that this house was totally not in keeping with the neighborhood, I was talking about, I meant to be talking about this house. I was talking about, I guess it was 42, and I meant to be talking about 48.
So you rescind your other requests. This one is the one you say is out of keeping.
This one, I say, is totally, the height of it is totally out of
Do you
scale
realize
with
it's
our
the same
neighborhood.
height as the other application?
Yeah, I
The other
object to both of them.
application's okay, and this one's not?
Anything that's this high in that neighborhood I object to, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any more public comment? Oh, watch yourself, please. You okay? Yeah. Any other comments? Anything further from the applicant?
Very briefly.
You're going to say what you as of right, we know what the as of right heights are, we know what the as of right volume is. If you're going to make that for the record, most certainly we understand that in order to be here, you are within your as of right height, envelope, building envelope, pyramid law, across the board, or else you would need a variance in order to be here.
Correct.
Recognize that, if that's
I
what
do
you're saying. for the
recognize
record.
it, yes, and this again is not.
What we have a right to do as a board, because I have to rebut that, is that it could be that size, height requirement, but how it reads on the property is something this board is unfortunately charged with. And if it's 3,000 or 4,000 square foot, how does that 3,000 or 4,000 square foot read on property, which is not so, I would say, overwhelming or impacting the community in a negative manner? Some of the ways you do that is stepping back the house, creating a more of a story and a half feel, removing the dormer or breaking the dormer instead of having the one straight dormer, but breaking it into so that it's a little less impulsive to a little less, I guess, dominating on the property itself. Some of the other challenges that came before the board are about privacy. That's a legitimate argument. I kind of find it hard to believe that even with that line of sight, that third story still would not have some privacy concerns or issues. So I'm just giving you some of the concerns I would have going forward with the application. You have the right, but it still has to read in a respectful manner.
I understand and appreciate it. Just wanted to briefly say, based on the recommendations and concerns you've had from the last 2 meetings, we have made substantial changes. Our designs are in conformance with existing zoning ordinance. We feel that they are in keeping with the character of all the houses in the neighborhood. And at this point, we feel that we're still in keeping with the vernacular of this beautiful village. And if anything, it's going to enhance the particularly Old Town Crossing. And last but not least, again, this isn't the forum, I believe, for people to point out their issues with the Board of Trustees, with village height requirements, and with parking. So again, to preserve the record and to, on behalf of my client, these properties should not be sort of fair game for anyone to come up and voice their opinions with their issues with something that this board is not interested in, even, is not within the purview of this board.
No, I'm glad you changed that. We're very interested in everything people,
Yes.
our community has to say.
Yes, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to point out just a couple of quick things that, on the streets, you can see this house here, 24 Old Town Crossing, is pretty similar to that as far as size goes and the front elevation of the house. And another thing I'd like to
Do
point
you have
out-
actual dimensions, size, height?
I'm not allowed
You're
to go on
saying
their
You're
property
saying
to-
similar. A lot of things are similar.
Well, just as he,
In contents in terms of
someone else
height.
just picked the number out of the sky too as well, but I can't go on their property to measure it.
Okay.
But, it's a 3-story home, so the height is most likely pretty close. But some of the comments that were made also were that this road was one of the narrowest streets in the village. Well, I checked with the building department, that's not true. It's the same right-of-way as all the other cross streets in the village. There were comments made at earlier hearings that this street was 1 and 1.5-story homes. Again, that wasn't true. The complete opposite was true. So you did acknowledge that before. I just want to, the record, just kind of show that some of these comments are really not applicable to these applications.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, any comments?
No.
Christine?
No.
Any further public comment on the application? All right, we're really receiving this. I would feel remiss to at least not have a senior majority on the application due to the fact that the nature of the community. There were some concerns that Ham had at the last application. They would want to rest assured that they were resolved as well. So I don't know if I feel comfortable approving the application today, and also have the opportunity for the neighbors to see additional data, such as the cards, which we will accept this evening. Allow it to be part of the record as well. Brian, comments?
No, I agree with you, and I'm very interested in seeing what happens with the house next door. in terms
Which
of-
is part 2.
Right, because if that is landmarked by something that sort of changes what's happening here.
Christine?
I agree.
With that said, I would rather have this as part of the record as well. There were some issues with regards to not seeing some of the material and it not being a part of it. And also to refute it, there was some questions about the size of the structure being in scale. Give the neighbors the opportunity to really review it and take that time, and maybe it comes back favorable, who knows?
Are we talking about the boards or the model?
The boards, not the model. I'm not gonna be responsible for your,
Hard if you touch that, yeah.
I'm not touching.
We have our own model.
It's
And again, what was in those boards was already in.
understood, but maybe for some reason they were,
Not in file.
okay. How did you get a copy of that?
I was given this.
Okay, okay. Just didn't make sure you took it.
Each member
I was given it at the last meeting.
Just wanted to make sure you didn't take it from our files. Okay.
I'll be happy to.
No, it's happened. It's happened before.
It's not in here.
Yeah, okay. Any other comments from the public? We'll adjourn for this evening, allowing the neighbors the opportunity to review the file as a full. Please take your model here, but we will take your boards. Okay.
You want the history of all the changes on the board?
I think the streetscape was the concern,
Identify them with a date
and
Yeah.
and write your address on the back. And do you
Like
have
how
a
we
copy
changed,
of
from one
those?
to the other?
Just put dates on them.
Dates, okay.
Do you have a copy of those?
you don't necessarily have to make the changes. We're looking for the proposed, the streetscape.
Okay. So the older versions you don't want?
They are in part of file.
Okay.
Can I just ask for our own knowledge, why would the designation of one affect the other? Just so that I am clear on that. Because they're two separate properties.
Right.
So my question is,
Application's closed.
why is the designation of one dependent on the other?
Because if that's a landmark structure, you would.
I think it's the context of neighborhood. This is
Right.
neighborhood now. So in
Okay.
the context of neighborhood as a whole, I would say that one application is contiguous with the other. Just so that we have a full evaluation. Not that the standards of one application will be applied to the other.
Right, I just want to make sure.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of 48 Old Town Crossing LLC to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please.
Next application is for Chuck and Elise Weisenfeld, 166 Herrick Road.
Where would you like these?
Right in the corner. Is the applicant present? Oh, okay. You have another model, huh? You could put them right behind Antoinette, and we'll make sure they're safe.
I think the building department's wrong not to run those models.
Yeah, they're very helpful.
Those models are so helpful. Why can't we have them in the building department? We have our own room now.
You're gonna be responsible for making sure they're transported in there.
Yeah, there's no secure storage in the building.
None. Someone's putting the stuff in the trunk and driving it back and forth. Oh, actually, that's not it's upstairs now.
It's
Right.
upstairs.
Still, they don't.
There's still no storage.
Yeah, but we have a room that locks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would get clarification from the building department and see if they want to be responsible for it. I just wouldn't want to make that recommendation on their behalf.
Wait, someone's gonna steal them?
Yeah. Or ruin them, or break them, or step on them, or it drops, or a myriad of things. Would you like these? Which is, there's one back there.
Is this okay for you?
That's fine.
I can see it.
Can I hand out little,
That way for, be stamped in for record. God, why can't we just have driveway gates the rest of the evening?
What?
So I wish it was driveway gates the rest of the evening.
Zachary?
Has anything changed from what was in file?
yes, it has.
It
John
has.
Latfield, the architect.
Okay.
And yes, I made,
Yeah, he changed
last time
it.
I was here, a couple of requests were made. One was that I try and produce a model to give a better understanding of the
Can you
house.
back that up
Yes,
just a little
better.
bit?
So much better.
Thank you.
If you'd like to see it, you
Can you hand it to us?
Sure.
Height challenged, I'm sorry.
So the model shows different textures that are on the structure and the windows and the massing.
Wow.
The second,
It's a big
the second request was that I try and produce a,
To be honest, most of the volume's on the bottom.
What?
Most of the volume of
I
the house
know.
at the bottom. You see it? Most of the volume of the house on the first floor.
Right. Lot coverage.
Yeah.
in the, on the house itself, some of the changes that were asked or that we have done is, there was a comment about the number of diamond lights that were in the front elevation on that shed, and we increased them by a third, which I think looks very pretty.
Much better, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, there is a request that I, instead of putting in an upper freeze board in the upper gable, which we have done, which is indicated on the model and on the plans that you see there. There was also, last time we were here, there was a request to change the chimney and remove, it used to be Pennsylvania wall stone, and now it's a brick chimney, and would be, we're gonna be using a Glengarry Danish blend chimney, so it'll be a brick chimney.
But you're keeping the
Keeping the
stone
stack
in the
stone.
rear.
In the rear, there's still one of the Pennsylvania wall stone, so it's still, it's low level, it's only 20 inches for a seat, so it's mostly, it'd be buried in landscaping at the end of the day. Right underneath the terrace.
Yeah, is that a outdoor fire pit that you proposing in that same stone?
Yeah, exactly. But it's tucked in underneath the house, so no one will see it. Also, in your sheets, Ham had requested, there was a request for information about cutting a section through the windows and the transoms, and that's on your, that was in your folder, in your sheet folder, and essentially the transoms are, the windows are all set at the 8-foot head height, and then the transoms are set at 9'6". And then respectively, on the top of the house, the transom height is 8 feet off the second floor, and there's a cross-section through the front gable of the house, a vertical cross-section, and there's also a horizontal section through the gable end of the house. That was about, I think, it for the requests about the house itself, the architecture of the house itself. Board sections, brick. We did change some of the detailing in some of the windows. There was comments that we originally had some panels below these guys over here, and we took those panels out and just cased them all out. Now these are all standard casings for these both casements and double hung windows that are. So we removed these casings here from last week, and same these guys over here. These used to all come down. There were panels below that. We took it all up. It's a gray. That's a shingles house. That's going to be stained gray, white trim. The back of the house has standing seam copper roofs on them for the bell towers, and all the trim is white on the house. That's all the question I had about the house. The other question was to try and provide a streetscape for the house, which I've done here, and so this is a streetscape I sort of came up with. This shows all of the houses on Herrick from Lewis to Little Plains, which is my client's lot right here. And luckily enough, I was able to go into the town, and number 208.
Hope you went to the village.
I'm sorry, to the village? Yeah, number 208. That has a ridge height on record at 35 feet. So I was able to extrapolate that line. If you see that line, you see that this dotted line? So I was able to tell you what my house is 29'3". I was able to extrapolate to 35 feet. So I was able to give you at least a sense of a vertical sense of scale in the streetscape. Yeah. And then I went down and I was able to take in the village, take the tax maps and trying to extrapolate out the size of the lots. My house here is at 29'3". Obviously, the neighbors, I couldn't fit the Little Plains in there. So I just tried to drive in the size just to give you a sense of the scale of the house. Other homes on Herrick, and Israel gotten through, because it seems to be a fair bit of construction going on at Herrick right now. Number 41 Herrick has a 29-foot ridge. Number 208 Herrick has a 35-foot ridge. Number 85 Herrick has a 32-foot ridge. Number 7 James, which is also sort of on Herrick down further, has a 30-foot ridge. And I think if you look at number 136, which is also a gambrel, this guy over here, it's a little lower than my house, because I think my my gambrel gables are a bit wider than theirs. But there are two additional other gambrels along Herrick. In fact, the house that's currently there is in fact the gambrel that used to belong to Mr. Wines. I also wanted to just, there was a question about, I don't know if it was really landscaping, but I wanted to show you what we plan on doing anyhow, so at least give you an idea we'd like to do. This is a bigger blow-up of what you have there. But ideally, this is Herrick Road here, this is Little Plains. So we'd kind of like to keep all the privet here on Herrick a little lower. Right now, there's a bunch of like arborvitae there. We'd like to see a little lower, and then jump up here with privet on this side. And then along this side, our neighbor has a backyard, second floor deck. And we kind of want to hide that from each other. So we're either going to be doing some type of either arborvitae or cedars. We're going to do an evergreen hedgerow all along here to block us out so we don't see into each other's backyards. And the rest of it just is.
Height?
We thought 10 feet to start, and they'll grow 2 feet a year and see where it goes from there. I don't have a caliber size yet or a tree size as of yet. We're still working with the landscape architect who only just got this, but this is
What's the side yard impact from the most, to that second-story deck in your property?
It's actually right. The houses are pretty much parallel. We're pretty much in line with each other, as you can see.
Okay.
And you see, this is that's my neighbor's back deck, and we're kind of in line with each other. So I was hoping to make sure that this line gets reinforced with.
So you're in the same footprint, correct? That you're of the existing, pretty much.
Yes.
You're not
Not
moving.
the same footprint, but definitely in the same area.
Same area. So you're not moving closer to his property line, it's within the.
No, we would be moving. We would be moving closer to him. A little bit.
How close?
How much closer? I have to get a survey. Do you mind if I grab a survey?
Yeah. So Little Plains goes north and south, correct?
I'm sorry?
Little Plains goes north and south?
Correct.
So
Yes.
you're going
We'd be going
north,
Yes.
how far? Or would you be going east?
I think he's pushing toward the west property line.
We're going, right now, the current house is in a non-conforming situation on Little Plains.
Okay,
So we're coming back off a Little Plains.
okay.
But the existing house is dotted right here, so we're coming over, I had to say, can I just give you a rough estimate?
I'm just trying to see where your impacts for your entertainment areas will be. So your second-story deck, his second-story deck.
We're pretty
I
much
know
in
you're
line-
putting hedging.
We're pretty much in line with each other. And that's why we'd like to put in, my clients are gonna put in some type of evergreen hedges along this perimeter, in fact, all the way along the line, just so we keep it consistent. Not that we want something that formal, but just keep it all on the line. But our decks are basically, the only issue with my deck is mine has you've got, some roofs and things in its way.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. In the height of that, the
height of his is probably, it's probably lower than mine, to be honest. I assume it's an older house, he probably has 9-foot ceilings, maybe? I'm guessing. Whereas my first floor is taller than that, so my deck would be taller than his. That's why we wanted to have, that line of this line of, arborvitae or cedar or some type of, evergreen screening along that edge. Also, my client's got a barbecue pit there, so.
Brian, you have any comments?
No, I think John cleaned it up, did exactly what we asked him to do. I think it's a very thorough presentation. The second floor deck does not bother me at all. I think you can see, because of the way it's fit into the architecture of the house, the focus is straight back and not intending to be anywhere close to looking at a neighbor, so.
Christine?
No, thank you for the model. It's very helpful.
You're welcome.
And it is interesting how the massing of this house is so different.
Well, looking at that and the previous application at 35, I'm really wondering how that's going to impact now more than anything. I know not to go back to the other application, but any public comment on this application? Anything further from the board?
No.
Context in terms of community, any question from you, Zach?
Well, my only thought, this is not my area at all, but since this is a corner lot, I'm just wondering what the view coming down Little Plains will be of that deck, unless the property line is very well screened.
Well,
In other words,
It's going to read like a railing on a house, I don't think it's going to read like a deck.
well, I don't mean just the architecture, but it is an active entertainment area. And so that's a, pretty good sized platform.
So
and it's right on Little Plains Road.
So we have these are a bunch of street trees that are currently on Little Plains. And we were gonna try and keep this low, but right about here, about halfway through this is the, let's say this is Little Plains? I'm sorry, this is Little Plains this way?
Yep.
Then we have, about here, we have this popping up again and making it high. So we're trying to make the back high to sort of give more privacy. And,
I don't have a concern.
Yeah, just-
Anything further from the board?
No.
Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the application of Chuck and Elise Weisenfeld at 166 Herrick Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you very much.
If you do, then we can't call the application open.
No, I have to. Recuse myself last week.
Okay, that's a problem, we can't. The application for 27 Cameron Street, understand that the application cannot officially be called open, there is no quorum. Unfortunately, one of our board members has recused herself. If there is testimony, it can't be entered in, but if there's, I know people probably here to talk about the application, understand whatever is spoken is not a part of public record. I'm not a part of the record of the application.
Will it be in the minutes?
It can't be a part of the record, it's not an open application. Unless you know something different.
You have a quorum to conduct the meeting. If somebody wants to address you, they just should be aware of the fact that they're only addressing 2 members.
Correct. Well, would it be substance of the application, considering that there's we have a quorum to open the meeting, but not open the application?
No, you have a recusal, so I think the issue is that the application could be open, but again, only 2 members are
You just can't vote.
receiving that testimony, so it's sort of like a moot issue. I don't know why anybody would want to make the presentation.
Is the applicant present? All right, you do understand that this application would not be voted on this evening. You are speaking to 2 board members, and therefore, well, if you could step forward.
I'll be brief.
You speaking to 2 board members, there will be no vote for this evening.
I understand that.
Okay.
I just wish I would have known before I came.
So, should I?
I'm Debbie Kropf, the architect. And the issue at the last meeting was the planning board approval.
And I
which-
researched that, and single-family residences are exempt from site plan review.
Yes, and I realized that after I left, but didn't remember it. But I did, so all I have.
We erred on the side of being conservative.
Yes, I understand. So, but this is a letter that I also wrote to John Foster, confirming my conversation with him that all we needed was zoning board.
I
So-
submitted a memo to the file, Debbie, to that effect.
Okay, great. So that's it. That's all. So that means I have to come back again.
If you want to hear, I'm sure that if there's any community comments, maybe it'll prepare you to either to come back with rebuttal from those comments, or
Okay.
you can stay to listen to that, unless you have anything further to add. But you're
No,
talking
we
to
didn't
the board.
change. The only issue at the last meeting was the planning board
Okay,
review.
very
so-
good.
so-
Any public comment on the application?
Yes, my name is William Claiborne. I reside at 23 Cameron Street, right next door. The issue that we had brought up last time, that's why this whole thing got a little twisted, was the proximity of the house that it's being built. They're within their rights to build it the way they are. But the front corner of our house, which has been there since 1936, is only 4 foot off the property line. The one that they're proposing is going to be 6 foot, I believe, 6.5 feet off their property line. So the distance between is only about 10 feet. As it goes down,
But yours would be out of compliance based on today's zoning.
I'm sorry?
Your property currently would be, or I should say your home would be currently not in compliance based on today's
No,
zoning.
it's in the business district.
But
Right, so they're.
Yeah, they're both in the business district, so really, we are allowed to go to the property line.
yeah.
So it's about 10 feet there and about 10 feet in the back. My concern was, because as it goes at an angle, it's about 4 feet, was the privacy issue with the shrubs that are there now. Then they're going to put in, I discussed it with the architect, an 8-foot basement. So my concern was the overcut of the basement wall, whether it would encroach on my property at the 4-foot part at the other end, and it would fall in. If it was, in other words, they're gonna, there's an overcut to the basement, so she said that they might then come with a crawl space instead of the basement full. That would be determined later. So, and then the deck in the back is only 2 foot off the property line, which right now there's beautiful 20-foot arborvitae in the back that I'm looking to see that they stay there, which she agreed to, because our neighbor also wants them to stay there, but that was, is one of the, I'm assuming that's what I'm here for, is, am I at the right board to talk to about that, is the privacy issue and, the close proximity to the
Well,
to
the
house.
privacy issue is this board, yeah.
Okay.
And it sounds like she's, the applicant, I won't say she,
Yes,
the applicant
yes.
herself, is keeping most of the current screening on property.
Right, that's what they-
Which is
yes.
appropriate as it stands?
Yes, at the back end, yeah.
Okay, so would there be any concerns?
Well, the concern is that the deck right now on the proposed plan is only 2 foot from the property line. The shrubs are about 5 feet wide.
It's a construction issue.
So it would be something where, okay, it would just have to be altered at that particular spot. Changed.
Okay.
You follow what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I know it's just kind of informal tonight because you guys aren't all here. But if you looked at the plans and everything, you'd see how close it was.
Has the applicant taken into consideration the concerns with the current landscape, and will the current landscape be altered based on that? You can step forward for the,
Yeah,
Charlie, can you get that on record?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, the plan is to keep the existing landscape, so as Brian said, it would be sort of during construction, if it turns out that it's too close, we will cut the deck at an angle, most likely. But at the time that, so that we don't cut down, my client does not want to cut down any of the landscaping on the property line.
Wouldn't it be best to make that determination now and?
We could do that, I can change the
Just to be
plan and cut it.
erring on the conservative right now, that would probably be a concern?
Yes.
So that's something you would be,
Cut the corner off of the deck right now.
we good?
Sounds good. Sounds
But
great.
as far as the basement, I said, that's really a construction issue. We never discussed, but if it's.
The basement?
Well, I discussed it with the village. I went to the village.
You went to the right
He
place.
also said, John said that it was a concern of his.
Correct.
Because it's only 4 foot off the property line. So if you're digging 8 foot, you have an overcut.
Right.
You cannot shear it straight down. it's almost impossible to do, or you're only talking this wide.
Yes.
To my property. So the issue was, okay, I'm sure that if any damages were done to it, they would, rectify it, but it's within proximity of my basement.
Of course.
That's been there since 1936. The integrity of all of this, the structure, that's what I'm looking at.
Very good.
All right.
Sounds like we've satisfied most of those concerns. The basement is something you would have to work out with the building department, but it sounds like they're willing to make the modifications to the deck just to err on the conservative that there is an issue.
Very good, thank you.
Any more public comment? Okay, we can't officially close the application, but we look forward to seeing the revised plans showing the modified deck at the next meeting.
Okay, do you need the survey to reflect that as well, or can I do a site
Yeah,
plan to show that?
yes.
I'd have to get the surveyor
Yes.
to change that as well.
Absolutely. Okay. And call Christine back in. Next application, please.
Next application is for Carol Stewart Black at 37 Halsey Street.
Lisa Zaloga, I'm the architect for Carol Stewart Black. Back in November, this property was before you for an addition renovation to this house. And after you approved that, we had some people going through the house looking at the basement situation and the existing framing in the house as it currently stands. I didn't give you one. I didn't think you cared. Zach, that's not yours. Sorry. So we determined that the house really could not be saved in any form of matter that made sense financially, structurally, aesthetically. So we are now back in front of you with a new house proposed for this property. And in doing that, we were able to push the house back further from the street and do some things that I think were helpful in terms of the site. We do have the pyramid law that plays a role in this property. So on the north property line, if you look at the north elevation, you'll see that the roof line comes down to about 13 or 14 feet on that side from grade. And then the windows are kind of carved into that facade. So I think from the street facade, having that lower plate height helps bring the house down. We have the front porch, and then you can see there's pictures in the file that show that it's heavily vegetated on both sides. And then we were also, back in November, you approved the renovation to the building in the back, but I just included it again since we were back before you. That's an existing two-story building with a little one-story portion that comes forward, and we're converting that, removing the second floor.
Nothing's changed from the prior approved
No.
application?
No.
No.
But I just included it because I'm back.
Okay.
I didn't want to get lost in the translation.
Brian, the north elevation.
What with the step-down roof?
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
I mean, if you think of it as a whole, I think the house still reads like a small cottage on the street, and we are, I think the house that's there
Front is neat, it's-
non-conforming. It's, the pyramid law was going through it, so it's better sited. And it's such a narrow lot, you won't perceive that at all.
No, and the hedge is
Yeah.
probably 16 feet tall, you're never gonna see it.
Christine, comments?
No, I think it's appropriate, and I think the scale is good.
Definitely gonna get a lot of light in there, huh? Nice. It's in keeping, there's no issues. Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the application of Carol Stewart Black at 37 Horsey Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Your daughter's going on Friday?
To Spain, yeah, I can't take it.
Are you starting to get stressed? Because I am.
They won't let us go to the airport, I don't like that. Southampton. Yes.
Nervous.
I am very nervous, but I bought my euros. Thank you. Next application, please.
Next application is Goodrich Southampton LLC, Rite Aid.
Good night.
Aaron Pelagian, architect for my client Rite Aid. This is and also visiting the signs. This will tie in. Rite Aid would like to renovate the exterior to bring it a little more, spruce up the building a little bit, change the colors from white to white and blue into more earth tones. And this is what we're proposing. This is, actually, these are more parking lot elevations than street elevation. Street elevation would remain the same, except for paint.
If you can go over the actual color,
Okay.
say earth tone.
Yeah, we have,
descriptive
in the
features.
packet, there's a color scheme. The background of this would be the main construction would be an ephes. So we'd have the.
Just go for the facade for now.
Okay, so it would be, what's the color? The taupe would be the background here. The border would be an AZEK painted tiki hut. And
much bigger.
Signage up top would be a dark brown, the Turkish color. And the main building would be painted of the tan, the taupe.
So it's tan. What is the pinkish salmon color that you have displayed in your rendering there?
That's existing brick.
It's-
That
it's
won't be
brick.
painted. Yes.
Brick. All
It's
right.
existing
If you
brick.
show the break in the brick, it looks a little bit more like brick. It looks like the whole facade right there, based on your rendering, is all stucco. So could you identify which is brick?
Yeah, it had, I guess if you look close, you can see the brick lines. It didn't print too well.
Yeah, you can see that.
I apologize on that. In the packet is a set of existing pictures.
So you've expanded the actual logo, or the sign.
The signage, yes.
Is that within code, the size?
That was my question too.
The signage has, I've talked to the sign company today. They've worked with, she said she had discussed this with Chris Talbot 3 times, and they've worked out the signage.
So this is within our
The
code.
code.
Yeah, that's what it is now, and it's gonna be.
Well, signed off by Chris. So we'll have to take his word that it's in the code, but it's very big considering. Are you proposing any type of lantern, any type of lighting, any?
The lighting is a bar light over the signage.
That exist?
It exists on, it does exist on this face. Obviously, it's going to be upgraded, updated.
Okay,
It's an
what
old-
type of lighting? Is it halogen?
It's a bar light. It's within the signage package. It shows.
Is there a drive-through involved here? Is this?
No drive-through.
So what's this?
That's the, well, it's the bank, isn't it? No.
But there's a sign that says drive-through.
I think that,
And then is there gonna be one
You doing a drive-through pharmacy?
on the side?
didn't
as
think
well
there
as
was.
As the back?
what's that?
That's what we have here.
Huh?
That must be, Did you? No, I don't think there's I don't think there's a drive-through on that. I will have
The bank next door has a drive-through.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rite Aid does not, so that sign has to be corrected. They, yes, there's no,
You want to get clarification and come back?
no, there's no drive-through. There is no drive-through.
No
There
drive-through.
is no, the sign, that's
Is there
wrong.
any lighting involved here?
Yeah.
They're saying there's a overhead bar,
And this is on,
which is going to be upgraded, correct?
Yes, on the parking lot face, it's an existing bar, but it's old and needs to be replaced.
Are you increasing the wattage per the lighting that's being proposed?
I don't know because I
It'll
don't
be
know
a
what the
fluorescent
existing
light.
is.
Yeah,
It is a
it's, yeah.
fluorescent, I believe.
We may have a challenge with the fluorescent light.
No, actually, it's saying it's LED lights for the new, fluorescents for the old.
Sorry?
The existing one that we're replacing is fluorescent. The new one, it will be an LED.
And well, yeah, you have a sign here that says drive-through. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm looking at the plan. There's no drive-through there, so I'll have to, we'll have to clarify that.
this is a bigger sign.
I'm sorry?
Over the top of the door. Much more noticeable.
Yes,
Are any of
And on
the,
the side of the building too,
yes,
and the back.
the side and the back. Well, there's a, yes, this one is, it's a drive, it's a drive line.
I'm gonna make a
driveway
site
in.
visit on this and look at this, 'cause this is a big change in the village.
and the signs that are going as part of your sign permit, not that we're opening that right now into that application, but will there be any lights that are demonstrated or displayed from there? Meaning any directed light towards the signage or?
Just what's above it on these.
I meant on the actual, within the lot itself. You have a drive-through, you have a
No, we don't have.
yard sign, you have well, there are still yard signs there.
The yard sign, yes. I believe the yard sign is internally illuminated.
Well, we have an issue right there. It's backlit, is that what you're saying?
Let me double check that. I apologize for this. They didn't- No, it's, the lights are above it, shining down on it.
Okay, so they're not backlit.
They're not backlit, no. Neither of the ones on the building.
I don't have an issue with the color, but it just seems like that you are not complete in terms of what is being proposed.
Okay.
I still have question about the actual sign, the size of the lettering, even though it was signed off by code enforcement.
What is the square area of the new sign, of the new proposed sign, of each one?
It's 9 feet tall.
51 square feet of sign.
It's a wall.
I mean, look at this. This is the cornice line. It's 9'2". That's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's really a fascia. The sign is applied to the fascia. It's not,
Right.
this is not the whole sign. It's just that the lettering is the signage.
I understand it's deficient, but the actual lettering is encompassing the entire
Yes.
printable area of
Sign,
that
Okay.
the
facade, so
sign
yeah.
itself is 6'6". It's still big. That's what this is, 6 feet 6 inches. Which means these letters are more than 3 feet tall. Something.
The Rite Aid letters are 3 feet.
That just seems really.
And he said that that was acceptable. I need clarification.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've seen the application as a whole. I have, just for the record, I have no issue with the existing brick that will remain. The actual colors, the earth tone colors, it's fine. It's better than coming back with a pink building. With that said, I have issues with the sign itself. If you have no issues with the actual building, we don't necessarily have to vote on the sign this evening.
Okay.
It seems that that's the challenge. You're not prepared to vote at all on this, okay. Let's see if there's any public comment, and we'll readdress. Is there anything else from the applicant?
No.
All right. Any public comment? Please step forward.
Bill Manger, 12 Fairley Road. I think the Rite Aid presentation here is more akin to a standalone Rite Aid building that you would see off of a limited access highway or in a larger mall setting. I don't think it looks appropriate for a corner of a village where no one is driving by at 55 miles per hour. I mean, the speed limit in the village is pretty much 25, 30 miles per hour. This just seems to be glaring on a street corner, in a very prominent street corner of the village. And I think it would be nice if the applicant would reconsider the design and try and make it look more in keeping with the village atmosphere and the other shops that we have existing in the village. I realize the building is a much larger building than most of the other buildings in the village, but there should be some way to mitigate again, the glaring presence that this building will have on that corner and make it more in
The
keeping
glaring
with the
presence
village.
is the sign, not necessarily the color or what the proposed.
Truth be told, I'm not really in favor of the earth tones either. I think it would look better in more traditional tones that you see around the village. I don't know too many other buildings in the village that are earth tone. It just doesn't seem in keeping with what we have. We have a lot of white. We have a lot of white trim. And again, I just think this looks like Rite Aid's cookie cutter design that they put in any mall anywhere in the United States. And we should ask for something better in the village of Southampton. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Please step forward.
Christine Whitaker, I live on Cameron Street. I just concur a bit with Bill Manger that I think it doesn't sound like the best fit. I remember Christides was there long ago, and I don't remember any building that was earth toned in the village. And it is such a large building. I think the sign is your issue, but it seems to me with a more pastel color, the sign might be less of a problem. But somehow with the dark, it would seem to me it's going to stand out even more. So I concur with Bill Manger.
Any more public comment? Anything further from the board?
No.
Any challenges with the actual color of the
Yes,
building?
I have challenges with, I think that in a village like ours, we have asked before of other companies to make a special concession for us in terms of color and size and style of their signs, even recognizing that they have corporate guidelines. We also have to recognize that this is a historic village across the street from the library, and I don't feel like we should be the need for advertising the sign.
Well, we're referring to the building now.
Pardon?
The building. The building is being proposed to be changed from white to a earth tone while keeping the exposed brick the same.
I definitely need to look at this more and understand it more. And
Brian?
I'm not in favor of that color.
So you're saying all the blue trim will be changed to brown?
Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, I can understand the intention to sort of make it blend with the building more, with the brick and the stucco, and the brown works with that. But, I'm not sure that brown is the right brown. I would like to see the building sort of disappear and the signage be so tasteful that you're drawn to that because it's so tasteful, I don't think the blue is very successful on the building. I don't mind the blue on the signs that is there now. But on the building, you see this, a stripe of blue. I don't think that's a good solution either. So I'm up for some improvement.
A different brown, a sand color. I just don't think that we've reached, this is an important part of the village, and I don't think we've reached a solution yet.
Okay, no, I understand. I just.
Thank you for understanding.
I guess I need a little more guidance on what to present.
No
I'm
earth
not-
tones.
Okay, but I mean, the shape of the building, the
Sign is
to
too
address
big.
to address one of the comments.
Well, we'll start from the top. The signage is too big.
Okay.
The letters are too
The
big.
letters are too big.
And Curtis, since there's no confirmation as to the wattage, I think you should request a photometric plan.
Part 2.
Photometric just based on the signage, correct?
Not light that'll be applied to the sign, correct?
Not like the,
No,
okay.
just the sign.
Okay.
Will there be a drive-through or not?
Okay.
Just confirmation.
Right.
And if there is, what would that drive-through look like? Because it's not a part of the plans that are here currently. The trim, brown, doesn't seem to be something that's really in keeping with that particular corner
Maybe
of
not the right
Southampton.
shade.
Okay.
Maybe a lighter.
The overall
You
color
know
scheme.
what? To be honest with you, it would be really plain envelope, white trim.
Yeah.
I don't know what more to say to you that we're looking for you to tone it down.
Okay.
And to be very cookie cutter, vanilla, and not so. I know you're trying to identify
No, I understand.
a point and position in the village.
Can I ask about the shape of the addition?
Well, there's no addition. What
Well, not addition, this fascia board.
You're saying addition. That concerns me. What is
No,
addition?
It is. It's
The
a
fascia board
billboard.
is
Yeah.
new. This fascia is new.
Okay.
I understand the signage is no good, and I understand the colors you don't like. Can I?
But other than that.
Well, other than that, right? No, I just want to know if I can pursue this new fascia, or do you want something?
Well, you added- sorry.
Just from a first from a code standpoint, I want clarification on if that fascia board is even within code.
You're talking about the letters, though.
The
He's
letters.
talking about the actual fascia board, which is the 9-foot section that I think is out of scale.
Well,
with
when
the
you
building. It's
reduce
putting
your
a billboard
lettering,
on the
then you have a
building, yeah.
huge canvas instead of. I would imagine you want your.
One would think, yeah.
You would
I
imagine
understand.
if you're reducing your lettering.
Yes.
The platform which
But
is
I
being
mean,
printed.
I know, I understand that, but I mean the overall approach of adding that
Yeah, I don't
to
think
the
that's an
building. I don't want to pursue that if
I think
that's
if
something.
the
we
colors are in keeping and the size is within keeping, I don't think there's an
change
issue.
the scale of that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
On your old sign, you don't have that red, white, and blue logo.
Yes.
But on the new sign, you want to
They want
include
that.
that?
Yes.
I would like to see that up.
I don't have an issue with the Rite Aid logo. I mean, we did for Radio Shack and for other.
Yeah.
I don't have a concern.
You know, it would be helpful too if we had just a small elevation of the entire building.
Okay.
Showing the colors.
I don't,
on it.
maybe not, but this. I don't know what happened with your toner,
Okay. Not dark enough. I understand.
but it's not
Didn't
giving any demonstration of color and total impact of
Okay.
color on this. I don't know what's brick, what's not. To me, it looked like it had a salmon facade
Okay.
rather than brick.
Just one other, addressing one of the other comments. This is not the Nugent Road elevation that we're working on.
Right, the parking lot.
This is the parking lot.
Nugent Road color. Okay, so it's the windmill.
Windmill.
It's actually the parking lot.
Parking lot.
Okay.
back corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're not changing anything on Nugent Street?
No.
Wait a minute. So the rear of the property is changing, and you want to change the rear of the property to tone of
Well, the
and
whole
keep the
buil-
front
whole-
white.
My client's approach was painting the whole building, but the physical changes to the building is only on the parking lot side and that drive, that corner. That's the entrance. That's the entrance to the building.
So the remaining building would be white and blue.
No, the whole building would be painted.
That's
The
why
whole
I was
building
asking for the whole
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, the whole building would be painted, just the actual construction of this, and the signage would go over the existing entrance.
You do not have
Will be
any
on
sign on
Nugent
Nugent
Street
Street at all.
Just that small one, that small one over the.
Really?
Yeah. This is an existing building, this is the approach that they're taking. on that.
Maybe smaller signs on the corners of each, including Nugent Street, would give you more advertisement than one huge sign at the rear of the property.
Okay?
You're just demonstrating, you're displaying it. I'm not getting into marketing, but
No,
good
I
luck.
understand. No, I understand. I'm kind of, you understand, I'm back and forth, so I want to propose to them what you want, and balance what they want, so I want to make sure that, I'm going in the right direction for you, for the board.
And we want to make sure you're going in the right direction for the community.
Right,
And-
well,
and
that's
with
what I
that
mean,
said,
the board.
that's the reason
I
why we're
assume that.
sensitive to the size, your color, your
Yeah.
scheme as a whole. So you come back with a more defined, at least a plan, whether it's a model or better, better elevations to show
Give us
color.
a clear picture.
Okay.
Show actual texture in terms of what's brick, what will remain as painted brick. The sign reduced, whether there's a drive-through or not a drive-through. The information on signage, the lighting, and its detail, and come back before the board at the next meeting. And it's both. That's the sign application as well as the application for the facade itself.
Okay, well, based on the way the wheels turn there, we won't make the next meeting, so.
So you're asking for an adjournment till the next meeting?
I'm not sure of the timeframe, so can I get an adjournment and then reapply?
You don't have to reapply. You can adjourn until the next meeting. If for some reason you're unable to prepare for the next meeting, you can write a letter requesting to adjourn until the following meeting.
Okay, and I can.
I would suggest you do that before the day of, so that if anyone
Right,
is
no,
here
I will.
who wants to hear the application, they're not waiting until 10 o'clock at night.
No, I
Sorry,
understand.
9 o'clock at night to see that you've adjourned.
Right, we'll do that, we'll do that. The other question I have is, we'll do that. Okay, that's fine.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant Goodrich Southampton LLC request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And on the sign permit, motion to adjourn the application until our next meeting. We have a
On
sign
the sign
permit.
permit. I make a motion that we adjourn the sign application for Rite Aid on Nugent Street to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What we have left are the minutes from March 9th. Will all board members present? Board members, that you have the opportunity to review.
Yes.
I did.
Any issues, corrections,
No.
comments, or concerns? Motion to approve the minutes from March 9th,
I
2015.
make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 9th, 2015.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And motion to close this evening's meeting.
Make a motion that we close this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation on March 23rd, 2015.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.